I learned Elena Hart's apartment the way you learn a weapon you plan to trust with your life. Weight, angles, weak points. The third step outside her door dipped on the right. The hallway window did not latch. The peephole had a ring of scratches like someone had tested it with a key. The lock on her unit was good, which meant if someone came for her, they would not bother picking it. They would kick. I set my duffel down like I belonged there. Like the roommate's story fit me as easily as my old suits used to fit when I did corporate protection in clean glass buildings and pretty lies. Elena opened the door in thick wool socks and an oversized sweatshirt. Her dark hair was loose, the ends still damp. She tried to smile like this was normal, like she had just pulled a stranger off a roommate app instead of off a security report. "Hudson," she said, like saying my name might make this less strange. I gave her the safe version of me. Flat voice, calm face, no sharp edges. "Elena." She stepped back and let me in. That was the first permission she gave me. I counted it. The apartment smelled like fresh paint, cheap coffee, and something sweet that didn't belong in a place with this many deadbolts. Vanilla. Her shampoo. I had clocked it the first time I walked behind her on the sidewalk when the wind pushed her hair toward my chest for half a second. It was not romantic, it was a marker. Subject present, subject alive. Her eyes followed mine to the doorframe. "It sticks," she said quickly. "Sorry, the landlord." "Doesn't matter," I said. "I'll fix it." That made her blink. People do not expect a new roommate to offer repairs unless he wants something. If he wants something, it is usually bad. She said, then recovered. "There's a toolbox in the hall closet." I moved past her without brushing her. Space matters. Space keeps you from doing stupid things when the clock runs out. The place was small. 2 bedrooms. 1 bathroom. A kitchen big enough for a pan. A cutting board, and a regret. My cover was simple. Friend of a friend. Newly separated. Needed a room. She needed rent help. 2 problems pretending to solve each other. Marcus had pushed the roommate angle. No badge, no uniform, no obvious guard at the door that would tell an attacker to bring heavier weapons. "Just be there," Marcus had said. Quiet, close, invisible. Invisible is not real. People who say it have never been shot at. Elena led me to the spare room. She stayed 2 steps ahead of me. Not fear. Habit. "Bathroom's down the hall," she said. "I have eyes," I said. It came out sharper than I meant. Her smile thinned. "Right. Sorry." I did not apologize. Not because I could not, but because apologies are handholds. People use them to climb into you. When she turned away, her damp hair swung. Vanilla again. A soft detail inside a hard job. I dropped my duffel on the bed and went right back to the front door. Step 1, check the chain. Step 2, check the hinges. Step 3, check the strike plate. The screws were short and cheap. Landlord grade. I swapped them for 3-inch screws from my own kit. The wood groaned. The frame held. Behind me, Elena cleared her throat. "So," she said, leaning against the doorway like she was trying to look casual but also not block herself in. "This is weird, right?" "Yeah." She gave a small breath of a laugh, then her gaze slid down to my hands. To the scar on my right wrist, a pale crescent under the skin where a knife had caught me years ago. Her eyes stayed on it a little too long. "That," she said, nodding at the mark. "What happened?" "DIY accident," I said. One eyebrow went up. "Sure," she said. "Old sink, old pipe. Slipped," I added. "You look like the kind of guy who fixes sinks," she said, and the way she said it made it clear she did not believe one word of it. I met her eyes and kept my tone flat. "People surprise you." She did not buy it, but she let it go. "Smart people pick their fights." "I'll let you unpack," she said, and stepped away. I listened for the soft click of her door. Then the second click of her lock. Good. I unpacked fast. Not clothes. Tools. A compact carbine broken down into 2 pieces and wrapped in a gym towel. A trauma kit. A satellite phone. A door wedge. A small flashlight that fit inside a fist. I hid them in a box labeled kitchen pans. No one checks pans. Then I walked the apartment. The hallway window did not latch. I fixed it with a simple wedge and a strip of tape that would rip loud if someone forced it. The draft under the front door sent a thin line of cold air across the floor. I folded an old towel, pressed it tight against the gap. A cheap draft stopper. It looked like something a broke roommate would do. It also helped if someone tried to smoke us out. Later, when she went to shower, I went down and fixed the loose third step with a hammer and long nails. It was not protection. It was a message. Someone is paying attention now. When I came back, Elena was in the kitchen, hair pulled back, a mug in her hand. The vanilla smell floated around her. "You fixed it," she said. "It was going to break," I said. "And the towel," she added, nodding at the door. "You're really leaning into the roommate thing." "I don't like drafts." Her eyes flicked to my face and away again. She took a sip of coffee to hide a smile. "What do you do, Hudson?" she asked. The truth sat heavy in my mouth. I swallowed it. "Security," I said. "Mostly." "For who?" "For people who can afford it." She looked toward the window, where pale winter light painted the glass. "I'm freezing," she said. "The heat does this thing where it dies in the middle of the night and comes back like it did me a favor." I did not sleep at all. She hesitated, then her voice dropped. "Do you have an extra blanket?" There it was, the first small ask, not about guns or danger. Just warmth. I went to my room and pulled out the thick gray blanket I had brought. Heavy. Plain. The kind you wrap around someone who is shaking. I handed it to her without letting our fingers touch. She took it and held it for a second like it was more than fabric. "Thanks," she said. "Seriously." "Don't mention it," I said. She walked to the couch and sat down. She did not drag the blanket. She folded it, then pulled it over her shoulders like she did not want to look needy. When it settled around her, she let out a slow breath. A little bit of tension left her shoulders. I logged it. Comfort gained. Threat still unknown. That night I slept in my clothes with a knife on the nightstand. At 6:12 a.m., a car door closed outside, too soft for a neighbor on their way to work. I moved to my window, lifted the blind an inch, and saw a gray sedan idling across the street. No one got out. No one went in. The driver stared straight ahead and watched our building. I stepped back into the shadows. This was not nothing. I was still watching the gray sedan when I heard her door open. Elena padded into the living room wrapped in my gray blanket like armor. Her hair was loose again, a little messy, the ends damp. Vanilla moved with her. "You're up early," she said. "Habit," I said. She followed my line of sight without asking. Her eyes found the car across the street. Her whole face went still. "That guy's been there," she said quietly, on and off. I thought it was nothing. I did not tell her it was nothing. I picked up my keys. "Stay inside," I said. She stepped closer, clutching the blanket at her chest. "Hudson, quote." I turned to face her. "You get to say no," I told her. "You can tell me to leave. You can call someone else. You can lock your door and shut me out. That is your choice." Her eyes flicked to the new screws in the frame, the towel at the bottom of the door, the toolbox by the closet, then back to me. "I'm saying I don't want to be alone in this," she said. It was not a plea. It was a decision that hurt her pride. "Then stay behind the door," I said. "And don't open it unless I say your name." She swallowed and nodded once, tight, controlled. I went into the hallway. I did not walk straight out. I went up one floor first and looked down through the stair rail. No one waiting. No one coming up. Then I went down. Outside, the air was sharp and cold. The sedan's engine was still running. I walked toward it, like I was just a guy heading to his car. My phone was in my hand, screen lit, camera ready if I needed it. The driver did not look at me at first. His face was turned toward the building, but his eyes tracked me in the edge of his vision. He knew I knew. I stopped one car length away and pretended to scroll. Then I looked straight into the car and met his eyes. He turned his head, slow and lazy, like none of this was important. He smiled without warmth and lifted 2 fingers off the wheel. A small salute, a message. I did not smile back. I let my stare go flat and held it until his smile faded. Then I walked away. No rush, no fear on display. You never show a man like that what you feel. Inside, I locked the door and reset the chain. Elena stood in the entry, still wrapped in the blanket, eyes on my face. "Well?" she asked. "Not nothing," I said. Her throat moved as she swallowed. "What do we do?" I bent, adjusted the towel tighter under the door. It looked like a draft stopper. It also sealed smoke and light. "We do the next right thing," I said. "One step at a time." She watched my hands like she was trying to memorize steady movement. Later, she was in the kitchen, cutting carrots on a board that had a crack in the middle. The knife tapped a slow rhythm. Tap, tap, tap. Her hands were steady until she thought I was not looking. Then the knife shook once. "You cook?" she asked, eyes on the carrots. "I eat," I said. She snorted. "That tracks." She nodded at my wrist again, at the pale scar. "So," she said, "DIY?" "Yeah." "I still don't buy it," she said. I leaned on the counter and watched her slice. The blade moved clean through orange, same size every time. She had done this before. "You interrogate everyone who fixes your stairs?" I asked. "Only the ones who fix them before I can say thank you," she said. She cut another piece, then drew in a breath. "You're quiet," she added. "Most guys talk to fill the air." "People talk too much," I said. "Some people talk because silence feels like danger," she said. Her eyes flicked up to mine, then away. She did not say more. I did not push. That evening, the lights flickered once and came back. Elena looked up at the ceiling like she was waiting for it to fall. I stood and listened. Old buildings pop and groan. This felt different. The hallway had a faint new smell. Metal and cold, not smoke, not gas. "I'm going to check the breakers," I said. She followed me into the hall, blanket wrapped tight around her shoulders. The breaker panel looked normal. No tripped switches, no scorch marks. But the utility closet next to it was not latched all the way. The door sat open a thin inch. I put my hand flat against it and felt a small shift. "Stay back," I said. I opened the door with 2 fingers. Inside, wires ran into a small black box taped to the wall near the junction panel. Cheap plastic. Fresh tape. Wires spliced in where they did not belong. Not a bomb. Not at first glance. A kill switch. Enough to cut lights. Maybe cameras. Enough to darken a whole floor at the worst time. I took out my phone and snapped a picture. Behind me, Elena whispered, "What is that?" "Nothing you need to touch," I said. "Why is there a box in the power closet?" she asked, voice tight. "And why do you know what it is?" Quote. I stepped between her and the open door. "Go inside," I said. Her chin lifted. Stubborn flared in her eyes. "No!" We stared at each other in the cramped hallway, the blanket slipping off one shoulder. She was scared. She was also angry that she was scared. "You can argue later," I said, my voice low. "Right now, you can live." She pressed her lips together. Her fingers tightened on the blanket. Then she stepped back. 1 step. 2. She turned and went inside. A moment later, I heard her bedroom lock click. Twice. Good. I pulled the box free, careful with the wires, and dropped it into a plastic grocery bag from my pocket. Then, I texted Marcus the picture. Sabotage in utility. Someone testing shutoff. His reply came fast. Copy. I'm 2 hours out. Don't be a hero. I stared at the words. Heroes are for news stories. I am not a hero. I am a man who knows what happens when you are not ready. I stashed the bag in my room, high in the closet, then walked a slow circle through the apartment. Windows. Latches. Locks. I checked everything twice. That night, my phone buzzed again close to midnight. I rolled over, careful not to creak the bed, and checked the screen. Marcus. Eyes on your building. No contact yet. Stay close. A second text came right after it. Funding pulled. Contract void. Abort. My thumb hovered over the screen. Abort. The easy answer. Walk away. Say yes, sir. Let someone else clean up the mess. Let Elena move to a new apartment with a cheaper lock and no one watching the street. I stared at the word until the letters blurred. Then I typed back. Negative. I stay. I hit send, then turn the phone face down and lay there in the dark. The building creaked and settled. Pipes knocked. Somewhere down the hall, a door opened a fraction and closed again. Maybe wood shifting, maybe Elena checking the hall. My hand rested on the knife by my bed. I listened to the quiet and knew one thing with bone-deep certainty. I had just stopped being her paid protection. I was staying for her. On day 4, I made a mistake. I let my guard down in the most basic way. I took a shower. The water in that building ran either freezing or boiling. I took the boiling, let it pound into the side of my neck, eyes closed for maybe 10 seconds too long. Long enough to almost feel normal. When I stepped out, towel around my waist, the apartment was too quiet. I opened the bathroom door and stopped. Elena stood in the hallway, bare feet on the wood, my satellite phone in her hand. Her cheeks were flushed, not from the steam. From anger. From betrayal. "Tell me," she said. I did not move closer. Bare chest. Wet floor. She already had all the leverage she needed. "Put it down," I said, my voice calm. "Tell me," she repeated, a little louder. "Who are you?" I dried my hands on the towel slowly, bought myself a few seconds, then I spoke. "I'm your roommate," I said. She laughed once, short and ugly. "Roommates don't carry satellite phones," she said. Silence sat thick between us. Water ran down my back. My scar pulsed under the bathroom light. "Are you here to watch me?" she asked. "To spy on me?" "To keep you alive," I said. Her chin lifted. "From what?" I could have listed the facts. The threats Marcus showed me, the man in the gray sedan, the name of the person who wanted her quiet. Instead, I let her see one thing only. "From someone who decided you were worth hurting," I said. Her throat worked. Her grip on the phone tightened, then slowly loosened. "Did you decide I was worth lying to?" she asked. "Yeah," I said. Her mouth trembled, just once. She hated that answer because it was honest and ugly. "Do I get a choice in any of this?" she asked, voice quieter. "Yes," I said right away. "Always." She stared at me like she was trying to see if there was any more truth hiding under my skin. "What are my choices?" she asked. "You can call the police," I said. "You can pack a bag and run. You can tell me to walk out that door and never come back. If you do, I will still make sure you get to safety. After that, I'm gone." She took a breath that shook near the end. Then she set the satellite phone down on the console table like she did not want to feel its weight anymore. "Okay," she said, "then stay, but no more lies." "No more lies," I said. It was already not true. There are always more lies. But she needed that line to steady herself. I went to my room, pulled on jeans and a shirt, forced my heartbeat back to normal. When I came out, she was on the couch, laptop open, gray blanket around her shoulders like armor. We spent the rest of the morning pretending to be normal. She answered emails with her jaw clenched. I fixed a cabinet hinge that did not need fixing. Around noon, the elevator at the end of the hall chimed. Soft bell. Old system. Elena's fingers froze over the keyboard. She muted the call she was on with one tap and looked at me without saying a word. I walked to the door and checked the peephole, careful not to cast a shadow. No one in the hall. A few seconds later, a narrow strip of paper slid under the door and stopped in the center of the rug like someone had measured the distance. I did not pick it up right away. I watched the shadow line at the bottom of the door. No feet. No movement. Then I hooked the paper with 2 fingers and dragged it back. 4 words. All caps. Black ink. "We know your lie." Elena exhaled once, sharp, like someone had punched her in the ribs. "Is that for me?" she asked. "It's for both of us," I said. Her hands went to the blanket. She gripped the edge so hard her knuckles turned white. "Where would they put a camera?" she asked suddenly. I looked at her. "You think they're watching us?" I said. "I think they like games," she said. Her voice was tight, but not broken. "You said you'd stop lying. Where would they put eyes?" It was the right question. "Smoke detector," I said. "Any vents, outlet plates, peephole?" She went to the closet and pulled out the screwdriver from the toolbox. Her hand shook once, then steadied. She held it out to me, handle first. "Show me," she said. We started with the hallway smoke detector. She stood on a dining chair while I steadied it, but she refused to hand over the work. She loosened the screws herself. Inside, tucked near the edge of the housing, was a pinhole camera. Not fancy, not cheap either. Enough to stream the front door, the couch, the spot where she slept under my blanket. Elena stared at it, face pale. "Okay," she said. "Okay, then I'm not crazy." "No," I said. "You're not." She held the flashlight while I cut the wire and dropped the device into my pocket. Her hand wobbled, but the beam never left my fingers. We checked the peephole. Clean. The outlet by the couch. Clear. The vent above her bedroom door. Nothing. But one camera was enough. They had seen our movements, our habits, which room I chose, how often she asked me questions, and how much I did not answer. By late evening, the sky had turned black and heavy. Snow threatened at the edges of the forecast. The building hummed with heat and old pipes. Elena made pasta. The sauce burned a little. The edges of the pan were scorched. She cursed softly, then laughed at herself. "I used to be able to cook," she said. "You are cooking," I said. "This is more like trying," she said. We ate at the tiny table by the window. She talked about normal things for a few minutes. Work calls, annoying clients. The way her boss chewed gum too loud. The normal talk was a shield. I let her use it. At 11:48 p.m., the hallway light outside our door clicked off. Not the whole floor, just that bulb. The line of light under the door went from warm yellow to nothing. Elena froze with her mug halfway to her mouth. "Did we lose power?" she whispered. I glanced at the kitchen clock. Still lit. The lamp by the couch. Still on. "Just the hall," I said. I stood and walked to the door. Put my ear against it. At first, nothing. Just the faint hum of the building. Then a soft sound, right up against our side of the world. Metal, touched metal. A small tool finding a lock. A careful test. Every muscle in my body went tight and cold. "Elena," I said quietly. She was already standing. The gray blanket had slid off her shoulders and pooled at her feet. Her eyes were wide, but she was not frozen. She was moving toward me. I opened the kitchen drawer and took out the small revolver I had hidden there. I held it out to her grip first. "Point away," I said, "fingers straight until you mean it. You understand?" Her hands shook, but she wrapped them around the handle. Her jaw clenched. She nodded once. "Yes," she said. The metal at the door scraped again. Then a slow, heavy pressure, like someone leaning their weight into the lock to test how much it could take. My heart beat slow and hard. "Back up," I told her. "Bedroom doorway. Stay where you have cover." She moved as I spoke. Bare feet, silent on the floor, blanket forgotten on the rug. She took her place in the hallway. Revolver up, eyes locked on the door. The knob twisted once. Then the first kick hit. The frame groaned. My new screws held. The second kick sounded deeper. The chain snapped. The second kick hit, and the chain snapped. The door flew inward hard enough to slam into the wall. Two men came through, both in dark jackets, faces half covered. The first one had a knife. The second had a gun held low by his thigh. I did not shout. I moved. I stepped into the doorway and drove my shoulder into the knife man before his foot even landed. His back hit the wall. The knife flashed up. I caught his wrist with both hands and twisted. His grip held. The blade kissed my forearm. Heat cut across my skin. Pain was information. I filed it and kept going. The gunman raised his arm, muzzle coming up toward my chest. I shifted so my body filled the hallway between him and Elena. "Hudson." She breathed behind me. "Stay back," I said. The gun barked. The sound was too loud in that narrow space. Something hot scraped along my ribs. My side went numb. I hit the knife man with my forearm under his chin and bounced his head off the doorframe. His knees buckled. The knife clattered to the floor. I kicked it down the hall. The gunman stepped over his partner and shoved the barrel toward my face. I grabbed his wrist with one hand and his elbow with the other. I twisted and dropped my weight. The shot went into the ceiling. Plaster dust rained down. He drove his knee toward my ribs. I blocked with my hip and slammed him into the wall. His head hit the framed print. Glass cracked. He hissed and tried to rake the gun free. "Bedroom," I yelled. I did not have to check if Elena listened. Her footsteps went backward down the hall. She knew where the one window was. One way in, one way out. The gunman fought like a man used to people folding when they saw metal. I had seen worse. I pressed his wrist flat against the wall and drove my palm into his fingers. The gun dropped. I kicked it toward the kitchen. Knife Man crawled, trying to get up. He reached for the fallen blade. I planted my boot on his hand and felt fingers crunch. He screamed and finally let go. He lunged for the open door instead. "Gun!" I called. I heard Elena move in the bedroom, the click of the revolver, her bare feet on the floor. Knife Man stumbled into the hallway and froze. She stood at the far end, front sight steady, both hands on the gun just like I showed her. Her arms shook, but the barrel did not. "Do not move," she said. Her voice broke once, then steadied. "Do not come near him." The man looked from her to me. His eyes were wild. He picked the wrong target. He ran for the front door, clutching his injured hand to his chest. I let him go. The gunman used the distraction. He drove his shoulder into my chest and pushed off the wall. We hit the floor hard. His knee dug into my thigh. His fingers clawed for my throat. I brought my arms in tight and rolled us, using his weight against him. We slammed into the side of the couch. The lamp crashed to the floor. The room went dim. I caught his wrist again and torqued it behind his back. He spat a curse and tried to buck me off. My side burned where the bullet had grazed me, but I held. The front door banged as Knife Man fled down the stairs. "Elena," I called, breath tight. "Call 911. I heard her move. Phone. Buttons. Her voice with the calm she stole from me. "There was a break-in," she told the operator. "2 men. One is still here." The gunman twisted under me, desperate now. "You are done," I said into his ear. Sirens started in the distance. Closer, closer. Elena stayed in the hallway, gun still in her hands, pointed at the floor now but ready. She watched me pin the man. Her eyes were wide, her face pale, but she did not fall apart. When the cops hit the door, I lifted my hands and moved back slow. I let the gunman drop so they could see him breathing. My shirt stuck to my side with blood. My arm dripped red onto the wood floor. "On your knees," an officer shouted. I did what he said. Elena did too, gun set carefully on the floor beside her. Her hands went up, fingers still shaking. It took an hour to clear the scene. They cuffed the man on the floor. They sent a car after the one who ran. They asked questions. Marcus showed up somewhere in the middle, badge at his belt, jaw set hard. He saw the blood and swore under his breath. "You stayed," he said to me. "Yeah," I said. He looked at Elena next. She was wrapped in the gray blanket again, the edges dark where they brushed my blood. "Are you hurt?" he asked her. She shook her head. Then she looked at me. Her eyes were bright, angry, scared, all at once. "He is," she said. I tried to make a joke. I opened my mouth and nothing funny came out. The paramedics cleaned my arm and taped my side. It was messy, but shallow. I had been closer to worse. "You need stitches," one of them said. "I need 5 minutes," I answered. He gave me the kind of look people give stubborn men and stepped away to pack up. The apartment finally emptied. The last cop left his card. The last neighbor stopped pretending not to stare. Marcus stood by the door, hand on the frame. "Funding is gone," he said quietly. "You know that. As far as the office is concerned, this detail never existed." "I know," I said. "You are off the clock," he said. "You can walk away." Elena watched him, then me. She did not speak. Her hand clutched the blanket so tight the fabric pulled. "I am not leaving her alone," I said. Marcus studied my face. Then he nodded once like he had expected that answer. "I will get you a new phone," he said. "Use the old one only if it is life or death." Then he walked out and shut the door behind him. The silence that followed was heavy. Elena stood in the middle of the living room, bare feet on broken glass, blanket hanging crooked from one shoulder. "You should sit," I said. "You should stop bleeding on my floor," she answered. We just looked at each other for a long moment. Then she crossed the space between us. Her hand lifted like she was going to touch my face. She stopped short, fingers hovering over my cheekbone. "Do not do that thing," she said softly. "The thing where you pretend you are fine." "I am fine," I said. Her hand dropped. She grabbed the front of my shirt and bunched it in both fists. Her knuckles went white. "Hudson," she said. My name came out like a plea and a curse together. "You could have died in my hallway." "You could have," I said. She shook her head. Her eyes filled, but the tears did not fall. "I asked for a blanket," she said, voice shaking. "I did not ask for this." "I know," I said. She sucked in a breath and let it out slow. "Do I still get a choice?" she asked. "Yes," I said. "Always." She nodded once, like the movement hurt. "Then I choose not to be hidden," she said. "I choose to know when I am in danger. I choose to know you are there because you want to be, not because someone is paying you." Something tight in my chest snapped free. "No one is paying me," I said. "I know," she said. "That is what scares me." The building moved us out 2 days later. Crime scene tape and new drywall and insurance talk. She went to a different place with better locks and thicker doors. I stayed in the same city. I watched the same streets. I learned new doors and new weak points and new angles to trust. The threat burned out slow. Paper trails closed. Names went into files. The man in the gray sedan disappeared. Weeks later, when the last report was done, Marcus called. "It is over," he said. "She is clear." "Good," I said. "You can go back to whatever life you had before," he added. I looked at my empty apartment, the spare bed, the wall where my duffel used to wait. "What if I do not want the old life?" I asked. Marcus was quiet for a beat. "Then learn a new one," he said. The coffee shop was small and warm. Too many windows, but good sight lines. I sat in the far corner with my back to the wall and my eyes on the door. Old habits. Still useful. The bell over the door chimed. Elena walked in. No blanket. No fear in her walk. Just a long coat, jeans, and that same vanilla scent when the cold air followed her inside. She saw me and came straight over. In her hands, folded neat, was the gray blanket. She set it on the table like it was something important. Then she sat across from me and wrapped both hands around her coffee cup. "I am returning this," she said. "That why you came?" I asked. Her mouth curved into a small, real smile. "Part of it," she said. "What is the other part?" I asked. She held my eyes. No flinch. No darting away. "You told me I get a choice," she said. "I am choosing to stop being cold." I glanced at the blanket, then back at her. "You look warmer than I do," I said. She stood up. Before I could ask, she picked up the blanket, walked around the table and set it over my shoulders. Her hands slid along the edge, tugging it into place. The weight of it was familiar. So was the smell. Coffee. Laundry soap. Vanilla. Her fingers paused at my collarbone for 1 second longer than needed. "I was the one who asked for this," she said quietly. "I needed it. Now you look like the one who does." My throat tightened. "You are safe?" I asked. "I am safer," she said, "because I know what it costs now." My phone buzzed on the table. "Marcus, you good?" I typed back one word. "Yeah." Elena watched my hand, then my face. "You staying?" she asked. I did not make it a speech. I did not dress it up. "I stay," I said. Relief softened her shoulders. She sat down again and slid her hand across the table, palm up, a quiet offer. I set my hand in hers. Her fingers wrapped around mine, firm and warm. "I was freezing the night I asked for a blanket," she said. "I thought it was just the room. Turns out it was my whole life." "And now?" I asked. She gave my hand a small squeeze. "Now I have heat," she said, "and someone who knows where the weak points are and still chooses to stay." Outside, the city moved. Inside, under a gray blanket that smelled like both of us, I let myself do the thing I had not allowed in years. I stayed.